Toji left the building and lit a cigarette. Damn it, should have probed a bit deeper. Perhaps it'd been a mistake to play nice and not inquire about the murder like they'd asked. Toji cursed herself for still being wet behind the ears when it came to this whole interview process. I stretched after organizing the giant mountain of paperwork before me. They were tallies of the money I'd spent on investigations. The majority of it was travel expenses, since I had no staff to pay for anything. If I didn't gather up every last receipt and record them in my ledgers, then I wouldn't get paid, since even a single inconsistency was a big deal. I didn't want the government stiffing me on the bill just because they thought I was cooking the books after all. I got paid by clients too, of course, but it was never a whole lot of money. Perhaps I'll have to take on some smaller cases until I finally get a juicy lead in this one. Being in debt to some shady loan shark was the last thing I wanted. I left the office in the evening. Maybe I should stop somewhere before I head home. Okay, now we're back to choosing shit again. Okay. Maybe I should stop somewhere before I head home. I mean, Kichiki Hospital seems like a good bet. Swing by there. It's been a few days. It's been a few days. Maybe Masaki would like to have a conversation. Worth checking out, in my opinion. I dropped by Kichiki Hospital. Since Masaki was conscious, I figured I'd check up on him. But I was promptly rejected by Kaharu.
なぜですか?
まだ安静にしていなくてはならない時期ですし。
Well, nothing I could do about that. Not like I could just walk up to his bed and slap the shit out of him until he woke up.
明日のお昼過ぎでしたら、私も含めてお話をすることもできますけど。
そうですか。わかりました。
Tomorrow it is then. And that's what he says. Alright. I said my goodbyes to Kaharu and headed to the exit. Oh, hi, Michiru. It was then that I found a tiny girl, Michiru Shirosaki, standing before me. Her right eye took me in.
なんだい?
Though I was admittedly rather taken aback, it looked like she wanted to say something, so I spoke up. Michiru cocked her head.
何か用があるのかな?
Fortunately, I'd had experience dealing with someone similarly slow, so I knew to be patient with her. Michiru suddenly raised the stuffed rabbit in her arms.
この人は何を言ってるのかしら?
She pressed the rabbit's mouth against her ear and then nodded over and over.
大丈夫よ。キャロルをさらいに来たわけじゃないと思うわ。
キャロル?
ええ、キャロル・ミュー・ダグラスというの。
Michiru held her stuffed rabbit toward me.
それは随分とハイカラな名前だね。
And if I didn't know any better, I would have had no idea she'd only had an episode just the other day. At least we've reached an understanding, I think.
あら、そう。キャロルは喉が渇いたの?
Michiru looked up at me after saying that. It was probably her way of asking me to get her a drink.
わかったよ。
I left Michiru where she was and went over to the nearest nurse's station.
すみませんが。
はい、少々お待ちくださいね。
The nurse I'd seen on numerous occasions returned shortly with the water.
どうぞ。
ありがとう。
I took the cup back to Michiru. But when I returned, odd, considering I was only away for a few seconds, sat on a bench in the hallway. What am I supposed to do with this water now? Should I just drink it and leave, or should I look for Michi? Just then I spotted her further down the hallway walking my way.
水。
She was already holding a cup. Not only that, but she had one-upped me with orange juice.
飲む?
いや、水があるからいい。
I called Kichiki Hospital after dinner. Once I was done, I returned to my room. The call had been to let them know I'd be visiting tomorrow. As for why, well, I need to ask some questions. What do you mean for why? Kaharu already knows. I mean, I guess that's in the event that you didn't go to Kichiki Hospital, but still. Not I was expecting to have them all answered, of course. Still, figured I'd at least get some information out of the venture. Though that said, I had no idea if any of it would be relevant to the case. Well, I suppose we'll find out now, won't we? School was out for the day. Yukiko had been staring at her blank sketchbook for quite some time now, head lost in the clouds. She was solely focused on coming up with something to draw. However, no inspiration had come to her. She looked around the clubroom for help, but Yukari had yet to arrive. That said, Kohane was present. Damn it! Although she was a member of the art club on paper, Yukiko had never actually seen her draw anything. Thus she figured it'd be a waste of time asking her for advice. The girl in question had lined some desks up and was resting atop them as she stuck her nose in a book. Their teachers would have scolded her for her lack of decorum, yet oddly enough Kohane looked right at home lounging around like that. Yukiko frantically looked away when their eyes met.
ねえ、ユキコちゃん。
Kohane sat up.
何？前から聞こうと思ってたんだけどさ、昔一緒に遊んでたこと覚えてる？
She inquired about the past. According to Kohane, the two of them had met long ago. But in all honesty, Yukiko barely remembered any of it. Though that wasn't to say she'd completely forgotten Kohane herself.
ごめんなさい。物覚えが悪くて。
まあ結構忘れっぽいのは知ってるからいいけどね。
Kohane smiled bitterly. Seeing that look on her face stung Yukiko's heart.
じゃあさ、カキツバタは覚えてる？
カキツバタ。
That's the name of a flower. But could it have also meant something else?
もしかして有原の成平？
そうそう、カラコロモの歌ね。
In the course of this tour, in the course of this tour, ragged and worn out is this robe, intimate acquaintance I made, sunk into my mind and heart. Okay. It was an example of an acrostic poem. In this case, the first letter of the word of every verse spelled out the word iris, though they were more commonly used first syllables instead of first letters.
いろいろと折りにして遊んでいたんだけど、それも覚えてないかな。
ごめんなさい。
Yukiko shook her head. Though she knew what acrostic poems were, she didn't remember ever making any.
夢に見ゆ君のささやきこの笑顔とかね。
Huh. First syllables of that one came out as Yukiko.
よくすぐに思いつくわね。
Yukiko was genuinely impressed.
夢いずこ川の流れは凛夏にねとかちょっと無理があるかも。
You from Guam, me from Morocco. Okay, well, that's just Yukari. The first syllables came out as Yukari, while the final ones came out as Kohane. Yukiko. Oh. I didn't even think about the final ones. Yukiko admired and envied how quickly Kohane had popped those out. I will say, doing both the first and last ones to spell out something, impressive. I still don't like you, Kohane, but, you know, I'll admit I'm impressed. Suddenly, Yukari entered the clubroom.
何か楽しいことがあったんですか？
Yukari couldn't help but ask when she noticed Yukiko
い
smiling.
え、ちょっとだけ鳥居さんと話していただけ。
そう。
Yukari seemed happy for some reason.
時坂さん。
Yukari smile didn't fade in the slightest.
私何を書いたらいいのか。
Yukiko showed her the blank sketchbook. She finally worked up the courage to ask. Sad as it was to admit, she hadn't been able to concoct an idea on her own. But knowing Yukari, she'd come up with something in the blink of an eye.
そうね。
However, Yukari put her hand to her chin in contemplation instead.
好きなものを書いてみるというのが一番なのでしょうけど。
Something you like. That was rather vague. Something or someone you like? Yukiko gazed at Yukari. The Virgin Mary the girl had drawn also came to mind. Both had proved difficult. Yukiko didn't think she could draw them or the man she met at the park the other day. They arrived at Kichiki Hospital. A familiar face was waiting for me right outside the front door.
お久しぶりです、時坂さん。
It was Fumiya Kichiki. He was Tsuru's brother and the current director of Kichiki Hospital, taking over following his father's
こん
resignation.
にちは。本日はお忙しいところわざわざ時間を割いていただき、
いえ、お気になさらず、いつも事務作業や会議ばかりですから。
Fumiya beckoned me inside with his gloved right hand.
失礼します。
I entered the room.
今お茶を持ってきますので、
いえ、お構いなく。
少し喉を潤した方が話しやすいと思うので。
Fumi held up a hand and left the room when I started pestering him. Oh man. Guess I'm the antsy one here. I sat on the sofa. It wouldn't do good to rush this when I'd already waited long enough as it stood. As such, I forced myself to relax. I just asked my questions, get as many answers as he was willing to part with.
お待たせしました。
Fumi eventually returned with a tray bearing 2 teacups.
どうぞ。
すみません。
I grabbed a teacup. Warm steam emanated from the green tea within.
さて、上園真由さんのことですね。
Fumi sat upright across from me.
この病院での勤務態度、できれば個人が生前に構築していた人間関係も。
僕は末端の看護婦の様子にまで気を配れてはいません。
Yeah. Why would you bother keeping close eyes on the nurse? You're too busy having eyes for your sister.
まあ、そうでしょうね。
That was inevitable when you ran such a large hospital.
ですから、上園さんの人となりについてのお話は看護婦か山之内先生に聞いてください。
わかりました。では、勤務態度などはどうでしたか？
これも記録上ですが、不審なところはないと思います。
Fumiya showed me Mayu Kamizono's shift chart. It was divided between the early shift, late shift, night shift, day shift, and days off.
先月の勤務表です。欠勤もなく、突然まとまった休みを取ったりもしていません。
So nothing that raised any eyebrows, huh?
彼女が何か宗教的なものにハマっているという話などはありませんでしたか？
それはおそらくないと思います。病院という場所は人の死に多く触れるところですから。
そうですか。
Yeah, probably wouldn't be a good look if you had cultist doctors enlisting mentally unstable patients.
昨年の事件以来、医師や看護婦含めての内部監査は
Sounded like they were being mindful of doctors and nurses who used their professions as a cover for shady business. Not that I thought said background checks were completely reliable, though.
今回は内部犯行という可能性は極めて低いと思われます。
I said that to assuage Fumiya's fears. Just then, there was a knock on the door.
ちょっと失礼します。
Fumiya headed for the door.
はい。ああ、なんだ、千鶴か。
Turned my head around upon hearing those words.
こんにちは、時坂さん。
Yeah, what's up, you nasty bitch?
どうも、お邪魔しています。
I rose to my feet and exchanged pleasantries with her.
いえ。兄さん、これを。
Chizuru handed Fumiya a lunchbox.
悪いね、いつも。
Fumiya brought the lunchbox over to his desk.
晩飯ですか？
ええ。夜勤の時はいつもそうです。
食べに行く頃にはもう周りの店が閉まっていますからね。
Fumiya strolled back on over after Chizuru left.
父が隠居するまでは自宅に診療所があったので楽だったんですが。
いろいろとご苦労がある。
そうですね。人手不足は深刻です。本来は産科の山之内先生にも入院患者の面倒を頼んでしまっていますから。
精神科はどうなっていますか？
それは斉藤先生がいなくなってからはよその病院から交代で来ていただいています。
患者の転院などは考えていないのですか？
入院設備はうちが一番優れていますから。いや、一番まともだと思っています。
そうですか。
Yeah, most hospitals would never allow a patient like Michiru to roam the halls freely.
上園さんについては山之内先生にお尋ねになった方がいいと思います。
わかりました。
I polished off my tea and got
また
up.
何かありましたらお尋ねすることもあるかもしれません。
ええ。
And with that, I left Fumiya's office. My next order of business was questioning Dr. Yamanouchi. First things first, I wanted to check up on Masaki. I headed toward the inpatient ward. Eventually, I stopped in front of the room labeled Tomoyuki Masaki.
時坂さん。
Koto called out to me right as I was about to knock. Yeah, she's like, were you about to enter that room without me, even though we agreed you would not question him without me present?
ああ、山之内先生。
正木さんにご用ですか？
Ma'am, I talked to you yesterday. You know I do.
ええ、まあ。ちょっと
I'm
様子
just
を見
here
て
to
たん
see
です
how
が
he's doing. Come on, we're just giving a friendly little checkup. Ain't nothing going on here.
今は起きておられるはずですから面会は構いませんわ。
分かってますよ。 世間話程度です。ただその前に山之内先生に一つだけ確認しておきたいことがあります。
何でしょうか。
彼、正樹君は精神科の治療を受けていましたね。
That was the only possibility I could conceive when considering his connection to Mayu Kamizono and the department she worked at.
そして彼は過去に6式の治療を受けていた。
一つだけという話でしたわ。
Goto reluctantly
あ
nodded.
りがとうございます。
ですが、正木さんが斉藤先生の診察を受けたのはせいぜい数回だと思います。
March, huh? That was around the time of the incident, a month before Rokishiki's arrest. With one man behind bars and another on the run as a testament to how this guy's life could have gone completely off the rails had the good doctor treated him for too long. While Rokishiki was an expert at tinkering with others' minds, I doubted even he could have worked his magic over a mere smattering of sessions. Is it safe to assume he had no involvement in this murder then? Goto knocked on the door as I pondered that question.
正木さん、入りますよ。
I followed her in the hospital
よ
room.
あなた。
Muskie looked up at me, only for his voice to die in his throat. Reasonable reaction, all things
う。
considered.
手の具合はどうだ。
Muskie didn't answer. Decided to wait for his answer rather than ask again. Though personally, I believe just standing here awkwardly would be more stressful for him than me pressing him for an answer. Goto said nothing either. Or rather, I got the feeling she wanted to interject, but was holding her tongue.
左手はまだほとんど動かせません。
Muskie held his bandaged hand out toward me. His fingers were bent unnaturally.
傷が癒えたらリハビリテーションを開始するそうです。
体調は。
おかげさまで悪くはありませんよ。あなたの血が役立ったようです。
最近はタバコも減らしているからだな。
自分もたまにタバコを吸うので心配はいりませんよ。
そうか。そうか。
病室内は禁煙です。
Goto stopped me when I moved to draw my cigarette card.
だそうだ。
知っています。
奇遇だな。俺も知っていた。
時坂さん。
Oh, believe me, I knew too. Goto's glare sent shivers down my
退
spine.
院後はどうするんだ。
さあ、
A helpful answer if I'd ever heard one.
週明けには退院できるようですが。
That isn't good. He's only staying here for now because he'd failed his suicide attempt. If he had no plan after they cut him loose, he could very well try it again. I couldn't have a key player in the case dying on me.
やれやれ。
Scratched my head. My to-do list just grows longer by the minute, doesn't it? I left Masuki's
そう
room.
だ、山之内先生。
私に答えられる範囲でした。
上園真由に関することです。彼女、
普通だったと思います。
Goto was upfront on the matter. She must have figured I would just take my questions to Masuki if she didn't answer.
悪くはなかった。
ええ。それ以上踏み込んだことは私には分かりかねますが。
In other words, she was saying she wasn't sure whether they'd been together. I knew the answer to that question since I'd seen Mayu Kamizono's autopsy. There's no need to get into that with Kaharu.
どちらかといえば上園さんが正木さんを気にかけていたように思います。
患者と看護婦という関係だけでは
ええ。上園さんと仲の良かった同僚の方に聞けばわかると思いますが、
なく、その方は
今日はお休みをいただいているはずです。
God damn it. Damn. Oh well. Guess that means I'll just have to come back another
で
day.
は、これで失礼します。
ええ、お気をつけて。
The sun was close to setting by the time I left the hospital. I'll drop by somewhere before heading home. But where? But where? Jesus, I could go all the way to Ueno. I don't know what good that would do me, but I could do that. I could also go to Moonworld. What would be waiting for me over in Ueno, though? That's the thing, obviously I know Toji's over in Ueno, but does that necessarily mean I'm going to run into her in Ueno? I doubt it. There's a possibility. But I doubt that I'd just like run into her and be like, oh shit, I just stepped out of the station in Ueno. Oh shit, Toji, what a coincidence. No. I think it's time we hit Moonworld. Let's go see Kyoko.
あら、いらっしゃい時坂くん。
よ、
I gave Kyoko a wave and sat at the counter.
コーヒーと何か軽くつまむものを頼む。
あら、いいの？ゆかりちゃんが晩ご飯作って待っているんじゃない？
だから軽くなんだよ。
じゃあ、さ
さっき買ってきたたこ焼きでも食べる？
Kyoko brought out a small curved bowl with takoyaki in it.
コーヒーに合うのか？
食べてみたらわかるわよ。はい、コーヒー。
Why did I just get the chills? I decided to give my throat a literal warm-up with coffee first. Afterward, I stuck a toothpick into a piece of takoyaki. Ultimately, it was a bit soggy, but not half
こ
bad.
れどこで買ったんだ？
From Takoyaki Man?
商店街のお店よ。
Oh, a young
若い
guy.
男の子が焼いてくれたの。
Does Takoyaki Man have an apprentice?
ああ、そうかい。
I sipped on my coffee.
何？焼いてる？
んなわけねえだろ。
Picked up another piece of takoyaki. Pairing them with coffee had been as much a mistake as I'd feared. I reclined against the sofa after dinner and closed my eyes.
食べてすぐに眠ると牛になってしまいますよ。
Yukari emerged from the kitchen with a teapot and teacups on a tray.
まだ眠ってないぞ。
眠っていた人ほどそう言うんですよ。
It really was innocent, but whatever. Yukari leaned over and served me a cup of tea.
兄さん、明日の天気はご存知ですか？
明日？何かあるのか？
ええ、写生を行おうと思いまして。
こんな真冬に？
だから天気が気になるんですよ。
She really takes her art seriously,
あ
huh?
まり覚えちゃいないが、雨や雪が降るようなことはないはずだぞ。
だったらいいのですが。
Yukari didn't sound convinced.
お前な、天気予報が新聞に載るだけでもありがたいと思うよ。昔は軍事機密で発表されないこともあったんだからな。
わかってますよ。何度も聞いてますもの。
Seriously? I guess there wasn't any proof I hadn't, now that I thought about it. I was definitely the kind of guy who'd bring up that fun fact.
同じように戦時中の地図も情報統制の一環で重要地点がただの畑や林と表記されていたというのも散々聞かされていますよ。
そいつは悪かったわ。
It was official. I'd become an old fogey. Ueno Station was positively packed on Sunday with tourists who were visiting from the countryside. The fact that the local shopping district was also selling New Year's decorations meant that even people living on the outskirts of Tokyo were swarming the place. Toji was viewing documents at a cafe by the station. Damn right she was. They concerned Mizuki Itase. She'd been a passionate Blessed Congregation devotee, whose mother had been a member of the Congregation of the Blessed. Records showed nothing unusual about her treatment in the organization itself, just another run-of-the-mill believer. Furthermore, she wasn't particularly attractive either. Every last thing about her had been perfectly average, a nobody whom no one should have cared about in the least, cruel as that sounded. On the other hand, that also meant there was no clear motive for her murder. However, it was hard to believe she'd have been a spur-of-the-moment killing, considering the state of her corpse, which meant someone must have intentionally murdered her for what they considered to be a good reason, but said reason remained hazy as mist. Nothing came to Toji's mind, no matter how diligently she perused the documents. In all honesty, she had never been that great of a thinker to begin with, and she knew it. She'd always been the kill first, ask questions later type, damn right. Thus her current plan was to scrounge together information on leaving the thinking of Toreji. She rose to her feet and left the cafe. The wind was frigid, hardly a shock, seeing as December was already halfway over. Toji's left sleeve flapped in the wind as she crossed the road and headed to the station. The flyers on the streetlights were fluttering in a similar fashion. Toji came to a halt when she saw the name Takashiro on one of them. She tore off that flyer, barely sticking to its home. The faded and wrinkled scrap of paper was all but ruined, but Toji could still make out the words, "Got a problem? No problem at all. From missing folks to lost belongings, the Takashiro Detective Agency's got you covered." It had been handmade with mimeographed letters. Based on the writing, it probably hadn't been Shugo himself, but rather his wife, Kazuna, who'd made it. Toji took stock of her surroundings and found the same flyer posted sporadically around the area. The flyers were rather aged. Must have been made before the Takashiros had moved to Zishi. Whatever the case, it wasn't exactly a good image to have all these still around when people in question no longer were.
剥がしておいてやるか。
Toji ripped another one of those flyers off a nearby telephone pole. Some of them were covered by flyers for a loan shark's business. Regardless, she tore those off as well. It was only now that it hit her exactly how many flyers had been posted. Seriously, Kazuna, you're not supposed to put them all up in the same part of town. That's advertising 101. Toji smiled awkwardly when she pictured Kazuna posting them. Though Toji admired how hard she worked to support her husband, putting one up on a food stall had just been overkill. Toji was about to remove that flyer when she suddenly noticed a woman scrutinizing it. Takoyaki man! Let's fucking go! Long time no see, big guy. The old man running the stall was also keeping an eye on her. She appeared to be about Toji's age. Furthermore, it looked like she had more passing interest in the flyer. Perhaps she's in the market for a detective.
お嬢ちゃんよ。
あ、すみません。この張り紙について尋ねたいのですが。
張り紙？その探偵事務所か。
ご存知なんですか？
そりゃよ、お内儀さんがわざわざてめえのとこの旦那のためにって話してくれって直々に頼まれてな。
The old man's face crinkled wistfully.
旦那もそりゃ凄腕の探偵でな。昔はいくつも難事件を解決したって話だ。
すごい方なんですね。
そりゃうちの常連だからよ。
Goddamn right he was one of your regulars.
大したやつだぜ。まったく。
We always turn up for Takoyaki guy. Though Toji felt the old man was shilling Shugo a bit too hard, she had to admit it was nice hearing someone speak so highly of her friend. However,
失礼。探偵を探しているのかな？
どちら様で？
the woman raised her arms cautiously when Toji addressed her.
失礼。その高城探偵事務所の知り合いなのだが。
Toji pointed at the flyer.
奴は今東京にいないので、すぐには仕事が受けられないのだが。
別に寿司だか寿司だかに行けばいいじゃね
Good
え
old
か。
sushi, yeah. Toji ignored the old man's grumblings and continued.
よければ事情を聞かせてはくれないだろうか。
ですけど。
なに心配いらねえよ。こいつはこの辺じゃちょっとした顔役だからよ。
はあ、人を探しているんですが。
人探しか。だったら新宿にある時坂探偵事務所を訪ねるといい。
新宿。東京は初めて来たので地理に疎いのですが。
そこの駅から山手線の内回りに乗っていれば着く。
Toji flipped over one of her flyers and drew a simple map.
この辺りのはずだ。
わざわざありがとうございます。後ほど訪ねてみます。
The woman bowed and walked off.
せっかくの客がよそに取られるたあいつもついてねえな。
東京にいない人間に仕事を振っても仕方あるまい。
Toji reached for the flyer attached to the food stall.
いやそいつはいけね
依頼を受けられないのだから意味がないだろう。それに雨ざらしになったままでは余計に流行っていないと思われるぞ。
え。いいんだよそれで。あいつはそれでも精一杯生きているからな。
The old man stared off into the distance for some reason.
よくわからないのだが。
これだから最近の若いやつはよ。
Toji ignored his ranting and surreptitiously left the stall behind. Hell yeah. See, I'm glad Takoyaki guy appreciated all our business, alright? You're goddamn right I'll be back if I'm given the chance. Don't you worry about it, Takoyaki guy. I got you. Later that afternoon, Yukari strolled alongside the pond shore, sketchbook in hand. Kalane was right next to her with Yukiko trailing close behind. The three had gotten together to sketch the great outdoors.
どのあたりで書くの？そうね。このあたりでいいんじゃないかしら。池の向こうに弁財天も見えるし。
Kalane plopped down onto a nearby bench upon hearing that.
じゃあ私はここで本読んでるわね。
Yukari wasn't bothered by that declaration. If anything, she would have started questioning Kalane's sanity if her friend had suddenly expressed an interest in drawing. Yukiko also relaxed on the bench.
このあたりから弁財天を書けばいいと思うわよ。書いてみる。
cute little fluffy collar on your coat. Yukiko nodded and stared out across the pond. This was the first time Yukari had seen her with her hair down. Looks like you can do all sorts of fun and stylish things with long hair. Yukari brushed her own hair with that thought. It was only then that Yukari realized she'd been staring at Yukiko for far too long.
いいえ、なんでもないのよ。じゃあ頑張ってね。
Listen, if Toji taught me anything, is that long hair and short hair can both be appreciated in their own rights, alright? So don't get yourself down, Yukari. Just take some tips from Toji and you'll be A-okay, even though you have no idea who that is. Yukiko faced forward. Yukari also studied the pond before getting to work on her sketch. Swan was resting on the bank. A raft of ducks were swimming in a bunch. Ultimately, Yukari decided to sketch those. Her pencil danced across her pad in absolute silence for the next several minutes. From time to time, she'd check up on Yukiko out of the corner of her eye. The girl was looking back and forth between the scenery and her sketchbook, face all scrunched. Furthermore, she'd also taken off her jacket at some point, as though she'd been sweating, her bangs now held down by a hair clip. Looks like there was no need to worry after all. Yukari removed her shawl, folded up and set it beside her.
鴨そば食べたいな。
Shut up. Connie stared out the pond inside.
取ってはダメですよ。
You stay away from the ducks.
わかってるわよ。さばけないし。
So you would if they did that.
年明けにはこの近くのお肉屋さんが焼き鳥屋さんになるそうですよ。へえ、ここの鳥捕まえるのかな。それはないと思いますよ。
Connie got up and approached the pond.
鳥は飛ばさないでくださいね。大丈夫よ。
No, I won't, actually. She then proceeded to take a walk down the promenade. It seemed she'd grown antsy sitting around in one place. Yukari watched as her pigtails swished with each step she took. Just then Connie passed by a woman in a kimono. Yukari rose to her feet.
こんにちは。こんにちは。朽木さん。
The woman in question was her former classmate's mother. The two of them had met on numerous occasions.
写生会かしら。はい。
Yukari found it hard to talk to her. Though the two of them had seen a lot of each other, they'd rarely actually spoken. Plus,
写真を撮ってもいいかしら。
Chizuru pulled out a camera.
モデルになってほしいというわけではないの。ただ風景の一部としているだけで構わないから。そのくらいでしたらお友達もよろしいかしら。それは
Yukari went over to Yukiko, the latter nervously looking Chizuru's way.
知り合いの方が写真を撮りたいそうなのだけど。
じゃあどういった
Oh,
方
that's a
がい
cute
いかし
shirt.
ら。
That's cute. Nah, homegirl's serving looks right now. That top, the hairstyle, the hair clip, damn girl. Killing it.
そうじゃなくて私たちをそのまま撮りたいらしいのよ。じゃあポーズ決めちゃった方が。
Connie joined in on the conversation as soon as she got back.
違うのよ。風景の一部として撮りたいのです。
そのくらいだったら別に構わないけど。
However, the anxiety on Yukiko's face betrayed her words.
じゃあ私も本を読んでるとこがいいわよね。
Connie quickly removed her coat and sat back on the bench.
今まで通り絵を描いていればいいと思うから。ごめんなさいね。
Yukari nodded to Chizuru and returned to where she'd been sitting, picking up her sketchbook when she was back. Just try to pretend the camera isn't even there. Yukari calmed down and stared out the pond. Meanwhile, Kahane had struck a pose almost identical to the thinker. Yukari felt the tension lift from her shoulders. She supposed she had Kahane to thank for that. While she was at it, Yukari snuck a peek at Yukiko too. Her pencil was completely frozen in place.
ありがとう。
Chizuru bowed after taking the photo.
いいえ、トウコが生きていればここに加わっていたのでしょうね。
Well, I mean, you had to take it there, didn't you? Yukari's mind locked up at those words. There's nothing she could say to that.
ごめんなさいね。お邪魔してしまって。
Chizuru went on her way.
トウコって？
Shut up. Connie's face was twisted in curiosity.
知り合いです。
That was the only answer Yukari could bring herself to provide. Yeah, no, now this ain't the time or place to get into the details of that one. I returned to Shinjuku after investigating all around the city. And Unfortunately, I hadn't turned up anything noteworthy. Okay, where to? Where to? Whoa, okay. Could go to the hospital. It's a possibility. We could go to Moonworld. Also a possibility. We could go to Ueno. Also a possibility. There's a lot of possibilities going on here. I do want to go to Kichiki Hospital because we want to like really get some info out of Masaki here, right? But also Kyoko, you know? But also Kyoko. That's kind of where my brain's stuck right now is Kyoko. See, that's the thing about these moments in these damn games where they make me pick a spot and go. It's like you kind of have to lock into one spot essentially. You have to like know for sure like, okay, I'm gonna go to Moonworld every time. I'm gonna go to the hospital every time. Because that was like when I was reading the walkthroughs for the first game, right? That was essentially what they wanted you to do. Oh, you wanted to see, you know, Kyoko's route, her, you want to see her special scenes. Keep going to Moonworld. Just keep going to Moonworld. Every chance you get, go to Moonworld. It was the same way if you wanted to see all of Natsume's scenes, right? It was like, keep going to the clinic. Just keep going. Every chance you get, go to the clinic. So usually what it boils down to is like, keep going to one spot, right? The problem is, I don't know which spot is like the ideal spot for big story progress. Like, obviously there's a chance I just get a bad end, fuck it all up, and go to the walkthrough anyway. If it's anything like their previous games, I have to get a normal ending in the first place just to even see the true ending. But that's the thing, if I can skip that first step and just go straight to a normal ending off rip, that's great. But also, when I do my first run, I typically stay away from a guide and, you know, just get my own first impressions off of it. There's so many options. There's so many options. It's like, I want to go further with the Kichiki Hospital because potential story progress, right? You can learn more about that Michiru girl, learn more about Yamanoche. There's potentially get more info out of Masaki. But I feel like that one's going to progress when it's time for it to progress, right? Story-wise. But Reiji will talk to Masaki when it is time for Reiji to talk to Masaki. And going there now isn't going to accelerate that process, right? So at this point, it's kind of picking between who we're going to go see. Now, if we go to Ueno, we could potentially see Toji. I don't know that we won't, right? But also, we don't know if anything's going to happen there with Toji. But you know what? I think we're just going to lock in with Moonworld. As much as I would love to try and see if we could get something with Toji, as much as I would like to try and see if maybe we could get some special scenes out of going to the hospital, seeing if we could maybe unlock some special secrets, I think we're going to have to lock in with Moonworld. Kyoko's the big homie, we got to go see big homie. Like, and there's always the chance, like if it's like the first game, you go to a location, they're like, oh, it's closed up today, there's nothing to do with this location. Pick a different one. It's always a possibility. We never know until we try it. So I think we're just gonna go for it. We're just gonna lock in with Moonworld, alright? Every chance we get, we're going to Moonworld. That's what we're locking in with. I'm joined by Moonworld.
あら、ドキサカ君。
Hi, Kyoko. Kyoko was sweeping out front.
珍しいな、外の掃除なんて。
いつもしているわよ。この時間はあまり出てないけどね。
She's sweeping dead leaves off the ground.
焼き芋をやりたくなるな。
ダメよ、ご近所迷惑になるから。
冗談だよ。
ふかし芋だったらあるけど、食べる？
ちょっともらおうかな。
though I had no idea how well they went with coffee. I waited at the counter until Kyoko served me some coffee and bite-sized pieces of steamed potato.
はい。
Here's a fork to eat the
結
potato.
構甘みがあるなこれ。
もともとのお芋の甘みよ。
わかってるさ。
As for the coffee, I honestly couldn't tell if I liked the combination or not.
メニューで出しているのか。
違うわよ。自分のおやつ用に作ったの。
こんなのばかり食ってると太るぞ。
うるさいわよ。
Kyoko leaned over the counter. Yeah, guess you'd have some serious back problems if those got any bigger. I wanted to grab them, but fought back the urge. Jesus, Reiji. She lays over the counter. She's like, fuck, I want to grab some titties. I mean, good coffee.
ちょっと煩悩と戦ってる。
I must fight my urge to reach out and squeeze titties. Jesus, Reiji. You need to calm your gorilla brain. Goddamn. She's like, I can't help it. She dangled her titties in front of me. How could you not have the urge to just reach out and squeeze? Like, on one hand, I do understand, my guy, but Jesus. Never quite thought about it to that degree. I retreated to my room after dinner. A few minutes ago, the hospital called me to inform me that Masaki was being discharged tomorrow. See, that's the thing. I feel like story-wise, it's going to progress when it needs to. All this other thing is just for these little side stories, right? My thoughts on the matter hadn't changed in the least. I knew I needed a way to keep him close at hand. But how? Okay. Okay. And that's how he becomes our secondary protagonist, right? Because I think I read at some point... I don't know where I read. Maybe it was in the synopsis for it. Maybe it was on VNDB when I was reading about it there. At some point, Masaki gets hired on as Reiji's apprentice in some way, and that's how it happens, huh? Reiji's like, "Hey, help me out with this case. Be my sidekick." But also, Reiji has ulterior motives, like, "Yeah, I need to keep you close at hand. I need to keep an eye on you. See what you're about." Okay. Okay. Cheeky Hospital, Monday morning. I pulled into the parking lot and parked. Well, that is what you're supposed to do in that lot. Many elderly people were filing into the waiting room. I weaved my way through them and headed for the inpatient ward. The wing was quiet as a mouse compared to the waiting room. Only a handful of people roamed the halls. One of them was Michiru Shirasaki. Her wrist bandages had loosened and were dragging themselves across the floor. If that wasn't fixed, she'd probably trip and fall on them. She had to be stopped before it came to that. Scanned the area if there were no nurses in sight. Guess I'll do it then. Not like I don't know her. I approached Michiru with that in mind.
Huh?
Michiru looked up when she noticed me.
Yeah. 応対が戻る。
She presented me with her hands. Gruesome scars on her wrists were exposed. Come to think of it, the Masaki guy slit his wrist, didn't
こ
he?
の傷は
Took her gingerly by the wrist and asked.
ううん。かゆいだけ。
Michiru started picking away at her scars. In response, I gently locked her hand in place.
やめておいた方がいいな。せっかく塞がっているのに、
でも、かゆい。
気を紛らわせればいい。ほら、これを持っていて。
Put Michiru a stuffed rabbit in her grasp.
キャロル。
Seized the opportunity to redress her bandages while she was distracted. The hospital had probably put them on to stop Michiru from scratching her scars. Took a peek at her face. There's still bandages wrapped around it. Those ones are probably in place to protect her fake left eye. That and her neck, in all likelihood. It wasn't long before I finished bandaging both her wrists. Michiru heaved a content sigh after checking out her wrists.
あら、時坂さん。
Found her pass by us at that exact
まさ
moment.
きさんをお迎えに来たのですか？
Today was the day the guy was getting discharged. Though he towed the thin line between life and death for a while, he'd been doing fine ever since he woke up. By this point, his slit wrist had almost made a full recovery, apart from some tendon pain. It was on those grounds that the hospital decided to release him early, from what I'd heard anyway.
今まさきさんは退院の手続きをしているのですが、どうやら以前の住居を引き払っているようなんです。
自殺を図ったのですから、身辺整理をしておいたのかもしれませんね。
解雇されたそうです。そう、 一度警察の厄介になった人を。
Kamizono's case, huh? The guy did mention he hadn't had any plans after he got out of the hospital now that I thought about it. Most likely cause trouble again if left to his own devices. Not that I particularly cared what happened to him, but it didn't feel great knowing I was partly to blame for him losing his job.
連絡先などはうちにしておいてください。ちょうど一人助手が欲しかったところですから。
ですが。
もちろん正樹くん本人の同意も必要でしょうが。
そうですか。わかりました。
Gahara left.
住所不明無職。
俺じゃないからな。